In Part 7 of Chapter 8, you will learn about comparing strings, reading and writing strings, string input, string output, specifying input and output files at execution time, and string type, and last, input-output files. Now let's get started. To compare C strings, you must compare them character by character. You do this by using the collating sequence call strcmp. Since ASCII is the most common character set, let's use it for our discussion. Remember that each character in ASCII has a numerical value. Your computer system can use this information to determine characters that are greater than and less than other characters. So C strings are compared character by character. You use strcmp to do that. If using the ASCII character set, we can say, is air less than boat? Well, A is less than B in ASCII, right? So yes, A is less than the B in boat. So it starts with the first character. It does it similar to how you were taught in grade school on how to compare words to see which one comes first in the dictionary, right? So the next one, air compared to and. So it would look and see that two A's, they're the same. So then it would look at the I and the N and compare those. And of course, I comes before N, so I is less than N. Therefore, this is true. This is less than. Is Bill less than Billy? Well, it would compare, and of course, the two B's are the same, the two I's are the same, the two L's are the same. So now there's nothing here for Bill, but there's a Y here for Billy. So that means Bill comes before Billy. This is a null value, right? That's being compared to Y, and of course null or nothing comes before Y. The last one, hello versus hello, they're the same all the way through. The only difference is capital letter versus lowercase letter. And a capital letter comes before lowercase letters, and when we number them using ASCII character set, so capital is less than lowercase letters. Most rules for arrays also apply to C strings. You know, C strings are character arrays for individual words, right? Comparing each character of a string. Aggregate operations, such as assignment and comparison, you compare each other or assign something to something, they are not allowed on arrays. However, C++ does allow operations for the input and output of C strings, okay? So those character strings, those individual characters that make the string, we are allowed to do some operations with those. So let's discuss that. All right, so let's talk about string input. Let's start with character name 31. So we got 31 items in this string of characters. This is an example of string input, cn name. So now the user can type in a name. The maximum length they can type in is 30 because the 31st location has that null character value. So it stores the next input C string into name. So when someone types in their response, it'll be stored in name. If the length of the input is 4, the computer stores the 4 characters they typed that are typed in, plus then the null character. So the total value of it would be 5. If the length of input is greater than 30, more than it can hold, the computer will continue storing the string in memory cells that follow that variable name. In other words, it could corrupt memory cells outside of name. So it would like bump over and start putting information in another variable's memory location. Could cause all kinds of funny things happening to your program. To read strings with blanks included in them, you have to use the get function. So it's similar to what you've already learned, only we're talking about reading in strings. So cn.get, then you have the string, whatever that is, you know. It could be whatever variable, and then m+1, and when executed, the statement stores the next m, the next value, number of characters, right? So it could be 5 characters, 2 characters, 8 characters, plus 1, which is that null character, okay? If input string has fewer than m characters, reading stops at the new line character, okay? You can output C strings by using an output string variable such as Cout, along with the insertion operator, which is these two less than signs. The example of Cout insertion operator name that's seen here will output the contents found in the memory location called name. The insertion operator continues to write the contents of name until it finds the null character value. If the null character value is never found, then you will experience strange output because the insertion operator will continue to output data from other memory locations outside of the variable name. It will continue to output until it finally finds that null character value. So you have to remember that because C++ won't warn you. Remember learning about input files and output files? Well, you can actually have the user name those files if you want to, and this slide talks about that. So here we have Cout, enter the input file name. So now the user is going to have to input the file name, cin file name. So it's going to store whatever the user types. And then when the user types in that name, then we use infile.open file name, so whatever they typed, and then that would open that input file. And the same applies for output. It's the same process with the output file name, okay? Okay, a little more information about string types and input-output files. Argument to the open function must be a null terminated string, right? So you have to have that null termination on your string. If using a string variable for the name of an input-output file, the value must be converted to a C string before you can open it. So you would use the C_string function to convert it. The syntax to use the function C_string is str, that's your string variable, whatever you're using, dot C_str, and then of course your parentheses. Str_var is your variable that you're using for your string variable. And here's just a short program example of that being done. You put input file string in file. So there's your input file string variable right here. This is your variable. And then we say it's going to be a string file name. So somebody's going to type in the file name and we tell the user, hey, enter the input file name. So they type it in and then we have to tell it to open, but we have to take that file name and put .c_str so that it will be able to open that file. Okay, so that's how you do that with these character string values. All right, you have just completed part 7 of chapter 8. In part 8, you will learn about parallel arrays, two and multi-dimensional arrays, accessing array components, and two-dimensional arrays initializing during declaration.